GM. GM. So today, as I'm going to continue focusing on Bitcoin dominance, I'm going to get more granular and look through some specific Bitcoin and altcoin charts. So going through them not against US dollars, but against the Bitcoin pair. We can see from BTCD and from ETH BTC here that obviously Bitcoin's stronger. But as we scroll down through, we'll see across a few others. So Binance Coin, after just getting absolutely decimated all the way since 2022, it's trying to bottom against Bitcoin. But to me, that's rejecting this previous level as it stands right now. And it's struggling. So that's on a weekly. And we go into a daily. Really needs to hold this consolidation that it's in, which it probably can. Like, the thing with Binance Coin is it probably went down more than it needed to because the FUD was extreme, and we all know what happened with CZ leaving and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if that has bottomed, but it's not showing much strength against Bitcoin right now. Solana, one of the better Bitcoin charts, after having had its big run up, it's consolidating here. It really does need to push up here, though. It needs to push back up into this previous level of resistance. Otherwise, it could be, if you just zoom into this part, right, that could be the start of a downtrend. Trend down, consolidate sideways. That could be continuation for a trend down. So, like Solana did over here, where it dropped off the highs and looked like it could be bearish, it needs to push back up into the highs. If you see Sol BTC pushing up into there, that's a good sign. A bit like what I've drawn over here. If it can push up there and show that it can move to that level, I would say consolidation would take it higher eventually. Ripple against Bitcoin. Show this to anybody who asks, why don't you cover Ripple? Why don't you buy Ripple? Why isn't Ripple bullish? That's why. They literally beat the SEC back in July and got a massive win. And yeah, tells you all you need to know about what the actual smart money and the whales and the OGs and the insiders of XRP are doing. Just dumping on your head relentlessly. Cardano, probably a bottom, right? Given that it's at its just down only, capitulate into the lows, break back up, fall back down. So I'm not a Cardano bull, but I would also say this is probably the beginning of the bottom. So it might grind around for a while. If it makes a new high there, then you'd expect it to have some kind of run against Bitcoin, maybe later in the cycle. I'm bearish on all of these, right? Cardano, any of these that made a lower high in 2021 than they did in 2018, they are going to do the same again. I'm sorry to tell you if you're a bull of Cardano, but I don't make the rules. The market's voted. AVAX, okay, needs to do, it's a bit weaker than Solana's is, and it needs to do more work. So it needs to push back up, show that it can actually hold up in this area, and if it does, it'll set itself up for a run against BTC later on in the cycle. Dogecoin, do we need to say more? Fucking worst coin, terrible meme, as in the meme itself. It's obviously the ultimate original meme coin of crypto. But so many people talk about Doge. I'm like, it's just really hard to want to hold something with so many bag holders. Literally every retail participant owned Dogecoin last cycle. And not just retail, but even some big players too. Just the bags of Doge are heavy. It was the reason we topped. Literally, Elon Musk going on Saturday Night Live marked the absolute top. So, no. Dot, just a piece of shit. Tron, it's interesting, right? Because everyone talks about how Tron is up only this year and how Tron looks so great, right? Every time I do an altcoin request stream, see Tron, we're like, Tron's just fucking, guys, Tron's amazing. Tron just goes up. And Tron is going up, but it's not going up because your choice is, do you own Tron or do you own Bitcoin? And even though it's done better than some, it hasn't outperformed Bitcoin, right? So since the lows of 2022 or the FTX collapse, where would that be? Here, November 2022. So since FTX collapse, Tron is down against Bitcoin. So even though it's up in US dollar terms, you would have been better off holding Bitcoin with all that less risk of holding a fucking shitcoin like Tron. You know, consider that. Matic. Again, people share the Matic chart with me and say, Matic, USD, bullish. This is a fucking horrendous chart. I would never, ever, ever, ever even consider touching it when it looks this bad. Consider these, because this is what you're trying to do, saying, am I buying this coin or am I holding Bitcoin? Chainlink as well has broken out on its US dollar chart, but look at its Bitcoin chart. Doesn't look not as bad as some. This could end up being a bottom, but it's certainly not trending. I'll just skip through a few. ICP chart just looks the same as its dollar chart. Bitcoin Cash, right? Yeah, Bitcoin Cash, the best beta. No, it's not. People got memed once again into the typical Bitcoin Cash. I mean, there's a lot of edge. Not even, I wouldn't say it's edge. There shouldn't be edge, but there is, because retail are so dumb. There's a lot of alpha that you can find by just looking at the Bitcoin charts. Bitcoin Cash, every time it has a pump against Bitcoin, just bleeds to a new low, right? Pumped against Bitcoin, let's just go from over here. Pumped against Bitcoin, went to new lows. Small pump, new lows. Pumped, new lows. Pumped, new lows. Pumped, new lows. Pumped, where do you think that's heading? It's going to fucking new lows against Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is an actual asset. Bitcoin Cash is just a fucking scam. Litecoin, same thing, right? Since 2018, Litecoin has gone only in one direction against Bitcoin, and that is down. So many people get trapped into Litecoin USD because the USD chart sometimes looks like it's going up. Again, bad idea. Optimism, similar to how its USD chart looks. Near, stellar. Look at these. And this is a key warning to you all. This is how most of your altcoins are going to look against Bitcoin eventually. And this is how most of the 2021 altcoins will look against Bitcoin after this cycle. If you go and look at the ones that have been around for, since 2015, 16, 17, they all eventually just bleed to zero against Bitcoin. Injective doing well, not surprising, best coin in the market in the first half of this move. Lido, not so much. Lido's more to be compared against ETH. Right, there's a few ETH beta coins that you should compare them against. Filecoin. Again, a lot of people talk about Filecoin being the best. So, this is where I take massive exception, right? A lot of people talk about Filecoin being one of the best AI players. Even Arthur Hayes talked about it. But as you know, I love Arthur Hayes. I think his articles are great. He's a good writer. But he's absolutely not someone I agree with all the time. There's loads of things that I massively disagree with him on. This being one of them. He picked out Filecoin as the only AI coin that he saw at that time that was investable. I'm just like, how? Look at this, right? Let's even just go to the weekly. That's Filecoin against Bitcoin. What do you mean it's investable? Investable how? And then even when you go to USD chart, it doesn't look much better, right? Oh, look, it had a pump off the lows. But that fucking Bitcoin chart is just a crime against humanity. The state of that. And then saying that, there we go. I'll take out my old favorite again. How could Filecoin be a better AI coin when you look at any charts? USD chart or the Bitcoin chart. It's just fucking crazy. Crazy. Rule number one, you don't buy shit that's going down. It has to at least be showing some strength in one of the pairs. But it's easy to go up in dollar terms. The most difficult thing to do in crypto is to outperform Bitcoin. So if you can find coins that are consistently outperforming Bitcoin, they are really strong. Here's a good example, IMX, right? This is in a very long-term base since 22. If it can break out of that, that's big. Like that's going to be a big dominance run for IMX against BTC. It's so hard to outperform Bitcoin consistently. Loads of coins can do a 5x pump, right? Yeah. And then they just fucking go all the way back down. But Bitcoin is resilient. If you can outperform Bitcoin, your coin is good coin. Arbitrum, it's okay against BTC. The problem is this just a lower high? We bleed all the way back down. Say, new coins are harder to say, like harder to judge it because it's brand new. And if it's gone up in US dollar terms, it'll go up against BTC. So it's done well. Sui, doing well. Render, doing decent. A lot worse, like nowhere near as good as the AKT chart, but consistently making higher highs and higher lows. Fetch, quite messy. And then old favorite AKT. There are more, like if you look through the charts, you will find some, right? You'll find some that are performing well against Bitcoin. But it's really important, right? Because like you can find coins and you can get trapped into thinking that they're great based on their US dollar chart. I don't know, I'm trying to think of one here that like has a decent chart, like even Lido, right? Lido against Bitcoin is frankly shit. You go to Lido against USD, people are like, oh, it's bullish. Like, is it? You have to then compare Lido and ETH as well, which is probably not on there, but some of these ETH beta coins need to be compared against it. I think Tron's the best example, actually, right? Tron's probably the best example of don't ignore the Bitcoin chart. There's nothing about this that's bullish. And if you look at the USD chart, you're like, this is so bullish. Even though it's just pushing up into massive previous cycle resistance and isn't strong against Bitcoin. So it's just kind of keeping power, which is fine. It means it's not as bad as some other shitcoins, but does it mean that it's like a good investment? To me, no. So that's a little bit of insight into using Bitcoin charts. Always a very good place to look at, especially when we're seeing what looks like the beginning of a Bitcoin dominance run. Well, that's it. GM, GM, GM. See you all later.